Welcome to the Ask Jordan podcast, answering your questions about selling on Amazon. Now, he's flipped more toys than a stadium full of toddlers. From Long Island, New York, here's your host, Jordan Malik.
Hello, Amazon sellers. My name is Jordan Malik. I'm the host of the Ask Jordan podcast. This is our 67th episode. We're almost a year old. Right now, I'm recording this in late January, so you're probably listening to this in early February, and I hope you had a great Christmas. We just got walloped with a big storm here, January 26th, 27th, I think, in the Northeast. I'm in Long Island, New York, and I know Massachusetts, if you're in Massachusetts, you got it hit a lot harder. So I hope you're doing well. You know, you turn on the news these days, a lot of scary stuff going on. So I want you to know that I do appreciate the fact that you listen, but more importantly, I hope you're doing well. I hope you and your family are doing well and your loved ones are safe this time of year. I do hope you're having a prosperous year so far. I noticed with Christmas this year, I saw a lot of seller competition. A lot of sellers doing the same thing, buying what they suspect will be the hot selling toys and hoping that the price of the toy goes to 2 to 3 times the retail price or whatever price they paid. And so you take an item like there was some remote controlled dinosaur. I forget the name. It was like a green and white thing. It was, I think, the lowest price in Walmart before the holiday, in the weeks leading up to the holiday, was like $79. And it seemed like every Amazon seller went out and bought it at $79, hoping the price would go to like $140 or $150, and it never did. I think the highest it got was $99, and there's just no room for profit in that. So my concern is that I saw a flood of incoming sellers all doing the same thing. Buying products in retail stores at a slight discount, maybe 10, 20% off, sending it into Amazon, then finding themselves against a flood of other sellers and not being able to make a profit or even taking a loss. And I see a lot of greed. I'm not saying all sellers. I'm saying, some sellers. I see a lot of hastiness that's kind of fueled by this eager anxiety to quickly make a buck, and it just doesn't work like that anymore. 3, 4, 5 years ago, it probably was a good business model where you could buy virtually any toy at a discount in the weeks leading up to Christmas. But Amazon now, for a third-party seller, you got to treat it like a real business. Your margins are going to be squeezed. Go to my blog because there's a lot of free ideas and resources. Some are free, some are paid, that will help you be a more savvy seller. HonestOnlineSelling.com is the name of the blog. HonestOnlineSelling.com, or you can just go to jordanmalik.com/blog, and it takes you to the exact same spot. And, if you haven't signed up for my newsletter yet there at that site, you can do that, because I give away a lot of ideas, and I'm going to be experimenting this year with wholesale for the first time and private labeling for the first time. I'm going to be sharing those programs with you in near future podcasts, because I'm a little bit tired of the retail rat race, although we do extremely well. But my wife and I buy when nobody else is buying, or we buy from places where nobody else will go. And I've explained that in the previous podcast. So a quick example is Christmas. We annihilated the local stores after Christmas when products were priced 60, 70, 80, 90% off. And they're seasonal. They're Hallmark ornaments. They are wreath ribbons. They are wreath bags for storage. They are plush Christmas-themed major characters. They are talking Christmas-themed figures. Peanuts, Rudolph, etc. And we bought these with the goal. Some of the stuff sold right away after Christmas. I think right through mid-January, I was doing a great clip of sales and selling Christmas-oriented merchandise after Christmas through about January, let's say 15th, January 20th. But the bulk of the stuff we have stored in a small room for next year, because the chances are that it's going to sell for full retail or more next year, and some of this stuff won't be manufactured by the same companies next year, so it'll be stuff that nobody can find anywhere else except from us. So that's the pattern that I'm seeing emerge from savvy sellers, as they're buying for the major holidays right after the holiday. And the savvy sellers are now experimenting with private label. There's a lot more trusted programs out there to learn private label that are very inexpensive. There's a lot more trusted programs out there to learn wholesale that are very inexpensive. And I'm going to see. I think you're going to see more sell. The savviest sellers are going to do that, and the people who want it easy, the sellers who want everything very easy and handed to them, are going to lose money or quit selling on Amazon or both. And there's no telling how many more sellers we'll see on the platform, on the Amazon seller platform, now that eBay is rumored to be spinning off divisions or being sold to another company. eBay is still a great platform for selling certain items that you can't sell on Amazon. So I want to get that into that in the podcast. But if you're listening for the first time, I want to welcome you. This is the podcast where we only answer your questions about selling on Amazon. Every episode, we answer a question from you, the listener, about selling on Amazon. If you missed an episode, go to askjordan.net. Some of you are calling in questions, and I'm going to tell you in a minute how to call in your question. But some of you are calling in questions that have already been answered. So please go to Google or YouTube, where all my podcasts are, or iTunes, or Stitcher, and do a search for the podcast name, Ask Jordan Podcast, and then your topic. It might be taxes, it might be wholesale, it might be buying from Alibaba, it might be dealing with negative feedback from a buyer. So type in some keywords and you may find the episode right there already, because we've covered a lot of topics in the past year on 67 different episodes. So please check that first. And if you think you've submitted a question to me and I've ignored you, and it does directly relate to selling on Amazon, email me, jordanmalik@gmail.com. I'll do my best to answer you or give you some direction. And if you want to hear your voice by submitting a question, I'm going to tell you how to do that after we answer today's question. Today's question is from Kate in Ohio. Go ahead, Kate.
Hi, Jordan. This is Kate from Ohio. I have a question about SBA as far as when your items get damaged in the warehouse. I've had this happen 3 times, and that's been the bulk of my sales, actually, because I've just started. Now, this last one was one item. It's a whetstone for sharpening knives, and they refunded me $2.95, which my cost of the item was $3.10. So is there a way to get Amazon to at least reimburse you for what you paid? Because from what I understand, they have a chart that they go by. But I'm wondering if there's any way to dispute that, because I seem to need that knowledge now. So thank you again for all you do. Your podcast is incredible, and I'm passing the word on. So thank you. Hope to hear me on your podcast. Have a good day. Bye.
Kate, excellent question. I'm glad you brought that up, and I want to also thank you for being such an avid listener and for the compliments. And every one of you who do listen to this podcast, I appreciate you very much from the bottom of my heart. So, Kate, damaged items. Here's what happens. If you're an Amazon seller, occasionally Amazon will damage your item. So you could send in, I don't know, let's give an example of, Kate had a sharpening knife or something, a sharpening tool. Had a sharpening tool for a knife, and somebody at the Amazon warehouse goes to put it on the shelf in the warehouse, and the lift that they use, the big piece of equipment, crushes it, runs it over, they drop it on the floor, and it's crushed or something. Amazon reimburses you generally, and I'm speaking in very general terms, they will reimburse you, not your cost, Kate, because your cost of the item is already a sunk cost. You've incurred that cost whether the item sells or not, or if it's broken and Amazon damages it or not. They reimburse you the dollar amount that you would have received when the item sold. Okay, so let's say you bought the item for $5. And that cost that you paid for the item is irrelevant, so we won't go there. But let's say you sent in one knife sharpener and you sold it for $15, right? The customer buys for $15, Amazon gets roughly $5, and you get roughly $5 in your cut from Amazon. Amazon would reimburse you the $5 that you would have earned should that item break instead. So if one customer buys the item for $15, you get $5, Amazon gets $5, right? You have a second identical item that's not sold to a customer that Amazon breaks in the warehouse, they still pay you $5. It's almost as if you sold it, okay? And that's, I guess, a case where Amazon gets nothing because there's not a customer to pay them for the item. So I've had a number of items broken, not a large number. I do get I've got maybe 1,000 items rotating through the warehouse every month or still sitting there or whatever. Let's just say it's a grand total of 1,000 items. I may get 2% that end up being damaged. That's actually quite a lot. That's 20 per month? Probably a little less than that. So 1 to 2% may get damaged. I like it when my items get damaged because I get paid for it right away, as opposed to the item sitting there. I have very niche products that may sit there for a year. So if Amazon breaks it, I get paid as if the item sold. I've never really had an instance where Amazon has paid me markedly less than the value I'm expecting to earn if the item were sold to the customer. If that does happen, I suggest you open up a ticket. Log into your Amazon Seller Central account, go to Help, and there's probably a category in there somewhere where very nicely with specifics say, on such and such day you emailed me about this specific item, give the ASIN number of the item or the merchant SKU or whatever it is. You reimbursed me $4.20 or $2 or whatever you got reimbursed, Kate. And my calculations from you can Google the word FBA calculator and type in the corresponding numbers for your specific item and see what your potential profit would be for that item. My profit was expected to be this dollar amount. Can you please look into this and see if you can reimburse me the remaining correct amount that I'm expecting? I think in some cases, if Amazon believes that you priced your item egregiously high, that they may not reimburse you that amount that you're expecting in terms of the profit, right? They may reimburse you what they think is more reasonable based on the lowest price. And I don't know if there's any hard and fast rules, but if you don't get the answer you like, provided that you've given all the specific questions to the Amazon seller support rep in your email to them and you've been polite, if you don't get the answer you like, you can always have them escalate it to a supervisor. You can respond to them and say, can you please forward my request to a supervisor because I'm not happy with the outcome. There are rare instances of people that I've heard have said, hey, I sent something and it was $300 and Amazon reimbursed me like $10. I've heard, I'm exaggerating on those numbers, but I've heard of situations like that. And they opened up a support ticket and they got the dollar amount the fair dollar amount that they think they deserved. So, Kate, I'm going to, I don't know the links off the top of my head, but I'm going to list some links within the notes for this episode, whether you're on iTunes or YouTube or Stitcher or the homepage, askjordan.net. You'll see the links to some pages that will help you. One will be to the Amazon damaged reimbursement policy for sellers. The other is a page that I use for reference a lot. That's not from Amazon. It's from Deborah Conrad over at howazon.com. And that covers some tricks to properly package your items for shipping. When you ship your box full of items to the Amazon warehouse, you should take extra precaution, or at least the minimum precautions that Amazon is advising you to make to ensure your items don't arrive damaged. So there's some things where Amazon wants you to do what's called a drop test and make sure that your item is bubble wrapped if it could fail that drop test, etc. So there's a number of things. I don't really follow the rules hard and fast, but I make sure I've got plenty of bubble wrap or cushioning within my boxes around the items when I'm sending them in. You always want to go for a little more to reduce any headaches, because the last thing you want, especially as an item that gets broken that Amazon misses, they forget to retract that item and reimburse you, and the item goes to the customer broken. I've had that happen. That's that's an unpleasant thing for everybody involved, because the customer gets angry, they leave you negative feedback. It looks bad on your behalf, then it looks bad on Amazon's behalf. Nobody wins there. So, Kate, I hope that answers your question. Kate gets all 7 of my ebooks about selling on Amazon and eBay. Kate, just go to AskJordan.net, click on the small envelope icon near the upper right-hand corner of the page, send me an email so I know where to send your ebooks to. And if you, the listener, want to submit a question to the podcast and have a chance to win all my best-selling ebooks just like Kate, you can call 516-619 online. That's 516-619-6654. Or go to AskJordan.net and scroll down. Look for the directions on submitting your question. Hey, thanks again so much for listening. This has been the Ask Jordan Podcast. We'll see you again in our next episode.